Welcome back to Moving with Meaning. I am your host, Krystal. This is the final episode of our June mid-year reset series, and today's theme couldn't be more important. We've talked about reflecting, refocusing, and reigniting your purpose, but you know what? None of that really sticks if you're running on fumes. You've guessed it, we're going to talk about burnout today. And you know what? In a sense, burnout doesn't wait for permission. It creeps in really quietly, and it steals a lot of your clarity, motivation, and joy. And if you are not paying attention, it will cost you your health, your relationships, and your leadership legacy. Today, we're diving into how to spot burnout early and how to create a career life rhythm that actually supports you, not just your role, your team, or your deadlines. That's why this episode, we're going to call it Burnout Awareness. Know the signs, make the shift. So as always, with all of the beginning of my episodes, I like to give a quick summary by recognizing why burnout is important and recognizing those signs. And you know what? This episode is no different. So let's get to it. Burnout rarely shows up overnight. It builds quietly through ignored stress, overcommitment, and misaligned priorities. That's why recognizing early symptoms like emotional fatigue, decreased motivation, irritability, or loss of focus is important. These signs are your body's way of waving a flag before it's too late. The key is developing a career life rhythm, a sustainable, intentional flow that prioritizes both achievement and your well-being. By recognizing burnout symptoms early and adjusting how we work, lead, and live, we give ourselves permission to create boundaries, take meaningful rest, and align our goals with our values. The target isn't perfection, it's preservation. When your rhythm works with you, burnout doesn't stand a chance. Hey, look, I am all about this because I've gone through burnout, and then once you've, at least burned out, and that's really important for me to distinguish between the two, because I'm still practicing in the industry that I thought I didn't like, but I had a lot of passion for, and I couldn't really understand why. I'm still working in that because I'm now shifting and paying attention to the signs of burnout so that I can obviously communicate those things early or take meaningful steps to maintain my preservation in that environment without burning out. But a lot of times when I do that, take those steps, that rest, others around me, they also recognize that, hey, she's taking a chill pill. She's taking a mental awareness health break or something like that, right? So it's very important to really model that in not only your day-to-day world of living, but really so that others can see you taking care of your health, prioritizing yourself. And if you mean that much to yourself, other people will respect your time and value you as well. Okay, and we're gonna go deep into this because I think I have a lot of experience with this, because I can get so wrapped up into the work that I'm doing and so zoned and tunnel visioned in it. Listen, I'll fool around and work myself up into a burnout. It's not that other people did it, I did it to myself. So I think it is something that is really relatable across every professional, whether you're an entrepreneur, whatever industry that you're working in, and at what level you're working in, because we all take passion in what we do, okay? And we have a high level of integrity, but we still gotta be aware, right, of our surroundings and our feelings and emotions, and kind of triggering what those methods are, and just really do like the why. All right, and I want to lead into this bit here as a leadership and emotional resilience coach. I've seen how early signs like constant fatigue, irritability, lack of motivation, and disengagement are often overlooked or normalized in high-performing environments. So ignoring these red flags can lead to physical exhaustion, mental depletion, and long-term career dissatisfaction. All of the above, of which I just mentioned before, but all of what we will be going through today episode. So I hope you are ready to go and buckle those seatbelts, because we are about to get moving and grooving. So let's break this down, right? Recognizing burnout early and shifting how you move through work and life can lead to benefit number one: healthier decision making. You think clearer, When you're not in survival mode, that means better outcomes and fewer mistakes made in haste. Yes, hello. Yeah, when you're thinking clearly, your decisions are driven by, I guess, logic. The way I look at it is data, right? Because I think this, as we're taking in more information, these are things that we can rationalize in our brain. Okay. And I think things, decisions that are driven off of just rational details are obviously more efficient, more productive than those driven off of emotion and disillusionment, right? And so in that case, you've kind of adapted and understood why that decision is being made. You've, really like played, looked at this and kind of said, can I live with the consequences of this not working out? And if so, which way can I shift? So I think those things I consider when I'm thinking and making a decision. I really take into mind, okay, wait a minute, I'm about to make a decision. Am I in the right state to do this? Right. And that's just become habit, right? And once you build into that, it's not something that you consciously are doing. You're, thinking of it and saying, okay, whoa, give me a minute. And you're also communicating that you are probably not in the right state to make that decision. So give yourself that grace and that pause when you're considering making those decisions. Benefit number 2 is stronger professional presence. When you're balanced, you show up with energy and focus. And guess what? People notice. Hello. So here's the thing. When you are really excited, passionate, and in a mood that's, like I said, it's full of energy, it's very energetic, you really do show up that way. Okay. And you are actually more enjoyable. You are speaking more confidently about whatever you're talking about. So I think that's really important that you exude confidence, not only in like your tone of voice, but your behavior, in your I think it's like micro. I forget. I'm not gonna say micro behavior, but it's the facial expressions, right? You're smiling, you're just more exuberant. That's all I could think of. But people notice the shift in that mood. So when you're also doing the same thing and in that same space, right? But you're less energetic and you're less focused, like people have to repeat things multiple times, or you have to take a break or things like that. People can sense that, hey, this may be not the best time to have this discussion, and maybe we just need to reschedule for another time. But people notice. That's why I'm saying that you need to take care of yourself first, because people will always see, even though we do our most to hide it, but those changes are just visible. We can't help it. We're human. Okay. Benefit 3, sustainable leadership. You can't lead well if you're burned out. Sustainability is the key to long-term influence. And that's a really good point, right? So we're talking about legacy a lot of times, right? And that's really what this is that we're all leaders in some capacity, in some shape or form, somewhere with other individuals around us, right? I think it's important that people will remember you for one or two things, right? How not to do things or how to go about things, okay? That's really important. And so you're going to leave an influence, whether with any interaction, whether it's good or bad, right? It is what it is, okay? But if someone is working under you for a very long time, or they like to follow you wherever you move in whatever industry or space within your company or what have you, and they follow you, that's a long-term influence that you have on them, that they literally want to continue under your mentorship and your guidance. There are other cases where people are exposed to you for a certain amount of time, limited, right? And they experience you just even in that moment. That holds a level of influence to them within, right? So it's very key to be keen on how you're showing up for individuals, how you're leading them, and the influence that you are passing on to that individual. It's very important, right? We're responsible and accountable for the interactions that we have with others. And at the end of the day, as long as it doesn't matter if that interaction went good or negative, you're going to take something away from it. But as long as you feel comfortable and confident with that, then all is well. Okay. If you come back with, I've had negative experience with someone, I came back and I was like, God, what went wrong just now? And how can I better avoid those conversations or better represent myself in a way that's more palatable to that individual, because people are just different, right? And we kind of shift and move without sacrificing our values. It's very important. So now, as I said before in the last episode, right, these things aren't just applicable to the workplace, right? So what we're gonna do now is make it real, okay? Because burnout awareness isn't just for the boardroom. Here are some real life checkpoints that we might want to consider in your personal life or in social contexts. So one is a personal example. You're in a social gathering, but you're mentally checked out. Conversations feel draining, even with people you enjoy. That's not just being tired, that's emotional depletion. Ain't that something? And I know all of you guys can relate to this. Everyone. There is literally no one that I know of that shows up geeked up all the time at any type of gathering. And if they do, they're doing a darn good job, or maybe that's the only time that you see them in those particular moods, I suppose, right? So your exposure to someone is one thing, as well as your experience during that exposure is another. But at the end of the day, it is totally normal and okay that you are showing up to a party or an event or anything, and you're around people that you typically enjoy. But today, I just don't want to have a conversation with you or them or whatever. I want to be to myself. So now I'm going to be on a wallflower, or I'm going to be stuck in a corner, or I'm going to find something to do to keep me busy so people aren't engaging me because they see I'm doing something, which I will admit does not always work. I know when people do that, you kind of think, oh, whatever. No, that seems to bring more people to you, because if they enjoy your company and they enjoy your conversation, they'll follow you. Like, I could be taking out the trash, I could be decorating something, cooking something, and I would have people just surrounding me in that area, talking to me, despite the fact that I'm actually really busy. They're going to engage with you in any way possible. And, again, that's just something where you're just tired, you're just emotionally depleted. Like, I just don't want to be here. And, you either can communicate that to them, or you just not come. It's up to you, right? But I think communication is definitely key, so that folks don't take what's going on with you, whether it's a mental fatigue scenario or not, negatively, as if it's something that they're doing, right? But I think it's really important about communication. The next example is social context. So you snap at your partner or kids for small things, or you cancel plans more often because you just can't people anymore. And yes, there's a lot of people that's like, I just don't like people. Like, I want to engage with them or anything like that. And that may be in some cases that people are more sensitive to conversations that are being had or statements that are being said, right? But they could misinterpret them or misconstrue them as passive aggressive, or like you trying to like sneak a hit. do some jazz at me through these words or something like that. That's a scenario. I've had it where I've snapped at my kids before. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. When I do snap, I immediately go, I'm sorry. That was not what I meant to say. I am just exhausted right now. I just can't. Like I said, when I say I can't people, I mean that includes you too. Like, give me a second to relax. And sometimes that happens with my youngest son, right? Every time he sees me come in the door, he runs up to me and hugs me. And I'm thinking, like, geez, is there any one time where I can just walk in and you just say, hey, and chill on the sofa while I just catch my breath from what just happened just now? But he doesn't. And so I end up snapping sometimes, and I'm like, oh, no, sorry. And I come back, I give him the hug, and I say, just give me a minute. And that's why I say it's really important to communicate, because people can really misinterpret just the depletion again, to the point where you're just like, I just don't want to do this right now. And that's totally okay. People feel uncomfortable saying that, and just because it doesn't sound nice, but it actually is about asking people to give you the space and the grace right at that moment. All right. So these are all of those contexts and things like that. Those are all signs that your internal tank is on E. Yes. And you know what? They don't just fix themselves. Yes, there are some accountability involved in there, right? Now, if we're going to be honest, leaders often ignore their own red flags. Well, why? I love that word. why. And to be honest with you, right, I am all about crafting change through curiosity, and it's really driven through the emotional why. We can always kind of determine the how often, the what, all these things, but when we get to that point of the why, that's where the vulnerability actually happens. Okay, and so these examples that I'm going to give you are more emotionally driven. Okay, it's almost like when people say, how are you doing today, and you say, I'm okay, or how did that make you feel? Not good, right? And this is kind of saying, no, specifically, what are those specific words, right? And we'll go through this because leaders don't want to do that, because it just admits these are words that you kind of can see yourself saying to yourself. Okay, so the first emotional why is guilt. So the statement of that would be, if I step back, I'll let the team down. I've felt that numerous times. Oh my gosh. Yes. So there are times where, yeah, I would be like, yeah, if I'm not into the mood today, but I'm like, oh my gosh, but my team needs me, because they constantly, I don't want to say constantly ask questions, but they're used to me being available to answer their questions. And when I say available, it's not that I'm saying I'm always on. It's just, they're just used to me being supportive, right? And so there are cases where I'm like, you guys are going to have to take this on your own for today. I feel really guilty, right, that I'm not showing up for them. And again, that's not the case. All I have to do is communicate, and they adjust. And I noticed that. I just said, let me try to see what the response is. And guess what? They are all okay and down with it. So I've never looked back since then. Second one, emotional why, is pride. And you would probably say this statement to yourself: I've always handled pressure well. I can push through this. Yes, I can handle different conversations really well. And there are certain times when I am in a particular conversation, whether it's in a personal context or even in a work environment, where someone is just irking the heck out of me so bad that I'm like, I can normally handle this. Like, I'm normally much more composed, but for some reason I am on 10 right now. And I can't tell you why, right? So I will try to continue to push through that conversation, even though I need to say, okay, got it. Like, just whatever is happening at that moment, let it go, instead of trying to push my point through. Okay, because at that point we're both at a high level, at a peak point, where even if I said something that is sensible, or you said something that is sensible, the other person does, I am not in a space to receive that. So I have definitely been challenged, and this is something that I'm still working on, is to always read the room, right? And recognize when, you know what, tensions are high, emotions may be high, and just kind of say, push pause on this, and we can revisit this at another later. Let's just digest what we have right now, take that back, and then come back at a later date to rediscuss and hash it out. That's it. That's all you have to do, and people are really open to that. Okay. The third emotional why, which is interesting, right? Because you don't actually hear this being an emotion, but perception, right? So you would probably say these words: what will people think if I say I'm overwhelmed? Yes, we do that, okay? Because we're always worried about the optics, right? How will we look? What will people think if I say I'm just being overwhelmed? Are they going to take work away from me? Or am I going to miss out on this promotion and on my review now because, I didn't do this, that, and the other? Hey, listen, you are doing an awesome job. And it is also important to ask for help and to know when you need to dial it back. And how you word that and phrase that is what's important, right? So when I was, working at this one job, and I was starting to get overwhelmed, and I literally scheduled a call with my manager, and I said, look, boss, I know what burnout feels like. I'm getting to that point. And I basically said, here are some ways you can help me, or here are some things that I think I'm going to do so that I can dial it back a little bit, just to recover and then move forward with this, right? So I came to him with a solution. Okay, I didn't come, it's okay to be overwhelmed, but it's also, using your rational mind and thought process to say, how can they be of service to me? How can other people help me in the capacity that I'm in? Because sometimes we do say yes to a lot of opportunities because we don't get them often. So we're going to say yes to that. But what we're saying yes to that, we're saying, okay, I'm going to increase my workload while managing the quality of my existing workload, right? And if something has to take a back seat, or we have to dial back the percentage of the capacity I'm using in certain areas, or I have to cross train someone else, make that statement. Okay, that to me shows leadership, and it also shows awareness, okay, and the ability to move and be fluid, but to also be aware of like where you are, and what state you are, and that you care about the work that you're currently doing just as much as you care about the new work that you're going to do with this new opportunity. Okay, so I think those three are probably going to hit home with many of us out there, and if not, share your thoughts, throw out another one. I don't care, let's give it out. We're here to share. Okay, now here's the truth: pushing through is not the badge of honor we once thought it was, is it? So prioritizing your well-being sets the bar for your team to follow, right? And I think that's really important to understand, that showing that you can push through and negating your own mind space, that's not healthy. It doesn't look good in the long run, not for you, but even for the team, because it's very difficult to kind of make that make sense when people can see that it's literally taking a toll on you. Okay, like I said before, people notice. Now, I've given you all the good about this. We always got to end with them strategies on how we can make this work. So you don't need a sabbatical to make a shift. You just need intention. Here are 3 practical ways to build a sustainable rhythm. Number 1, create energy rituals. Yes, schedule restorative time like non-negotiable meetings, walks, music, journaling, or even 10-minute tech breaks can reset your brain. Isn't this a theme we're talking about throughout this entire series, this entire month, right? It's these non-negotiable meetings, which means these are times that I'm taking for myself to do what I want to do. So yes, walk in the park, do some journaling, or just like I said, just to get up and walk away from the laptop for a moment, from the computer screen for a moment. Just walk outside, get a drink of water, go to the break room, whatever it is, okay? But do whatever you need when you feel the tank starting to deplete, or things kind of starting to kind of get to the point where I'm about to get overwhelmed and I need a minute to decompress. Catch it and do your ritual. The reason we call it ritual is because there are certain ones that are on demand, and then there's others that are just routine. So we want to make it routine so that other folks get into habit of seeing you do this, and they can respect your time and your boundaries as well. Number 2, set and model boundaries. Decline meetings that don't require your presence. Say no without guilt. Let your team see that wellness matters, starting at the top. Yes. Those practices obviously makes perfect, but yeah, you don't need to be in every meeting. And to be honest with you, I start doing that. I'll kind of get there to set the tone and the theme for folks to kind of get things under the belt, and then I stop coming. And then I say, if you need me there, I'm available, just ping me. Right? Other than that, I expect you guys, you have the capability to lead this and do things without my supervision and oversight. Whatever you need, do it and let me know. Okay? Number 3, normalize check-ins with your team and with yourself. Build regular wellness check-ins into your leadership rhythm. Mental health is a leadership metric. Yes, we've all heard of KPIs and how we measure success, how we measure happiness, things like that. Hey, put mental health on that, right? And do a check-in. Like I said, what we're doing right now, a mid-year check-in. We'll do the end-of-year check-in, right? So that's what we do, right? We're checking in with our mental health. We're reassessing and realigning our goals so that they are in line with what our approach is to get to that North Star. And we need to make sure that we prioritize ourselves on the way there. So this is a key metric in not only leadership, but your health as well, okay? Now, at the end of the day, you are doing this: setting work boundaries that respect your personal time, building recovery moments into your day, mental breaks, mindful pauses, or movement, and lastly, aligning your work with your values so your output feels meaningful, not draining. That is a summary in what these strategies will help build up today. And you know what? The way I look at it is, why not start today? That is the biggest piece at the end of the day, is just start today with these. You don't need to wait till the end of the week or next week or till you get back from vacation. Start right now. You matter, and I mean that. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with this last motivational message, because I enjoyed this so much and I enjoy you for taking the time to watch and listen to me today. Here's what I've learned. Burnout doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've been strong for too long without rest. And if there's one thing I want you to walk away with today, it's this. Life happens, so we must create the space for the pause. No one else is going to do it for you. So honor the pause, create the rhythm, and choose a leadership style that prioritizes your humanity as much as your hustle. This isn't the end of your journey. It's the beginning of a more sustainable one. I love that. I love that. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode today. I really did. I love rehashing just the old experiences and applying them to the new practices that I have in today's world. Honestly, both professionally and personally. I think we really need to just merge them bad boys together, and the practices and principles that we use actually really go across the line. All right. As a reminder, if you want more of me that delves into deeper topics, check out my podcast, Moving with Me in the Podcast. I'm on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Music. Check out my website, movingwithmeanie.com. Here is my graphic with all of my social media connections. Hit your girl up or just follow along. Maybe something will pop out at you. Also, if you are particularly inspired by any of my conversations or episodes and think this would be a good match for your next event, I'm your gal. Or you're interested in converting this into a workshop, I got you covered. Perhaps this is right in line with your own experience and want to partner with me to add a bit more oxygen to that spark. I'm your coach. Maybe finding the words for your own memoir or ebook has you all balled up in knots. Well, I'm the ghostwriter that can put your thoughts and ideas to paper. If any of these strike your interest and you just want to talk opportunities, take the first step and book me completely free using this QR code. I love that. I look forward to seeing you guys and hearing from you guys. But as always, 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 be mindful and be respectful to yourself. Okay? You deserve it, and prioritize you. But in the meantime, hey, just keep moving.